isn't as much of like harsh feedback, and also like including the things that people maybe don't mention as often, that they think, no, this doesn't look right and you should maybe think about. And talking to projects turns into, this is awesome, and like, what are you doing? But then there isn't as much of like harsh feedback, and also like including the things that people maybe don't mention as often, that they think, no, this doesn't look right and you should maybe think about thinking about maybe changing up this or that. And like, it does, maybe those space would need to be recorded. I don't know really about that, but because I think that would be very valuable, because oftentimes there are like challenges, and then sometimes, and obviously not all the challenges will be shared in the open, but I think there is a potential to just share them and get feedback from other folks, and have that open as sort of a, maybe even a fixed time every week or something, where people can come and share their challenges and get feedback of what other people think, what might be ways to tackle those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I it's great that you mentioned this because I do feel that as a space we do lack at times, projects do lack this support system, plus the fact that like you have somebody who can offer you very candid feedback on whatever you're doing. And that's also probably a function of the space being quite nascent, and all of us also constantly finding ourselves in terms of what we're adding value to in the space. But this need, I think I've mostly then always gone on to like other founders in the space and like tried to have conversations with them because you need somebody who understands the space fully and what it needs for them to also provide some constructive criticism. Plus, you also want a space to have discussions around what are the potential solutions to these things. Because it's so nascent, none of us have the answers. We're all constantly figuring it out, and I feel like nothing better than to like figure it out in public. And plus that kind of turns into like a brainstorming session in itself. Like, I mean, we've had various instances when we were discussing how can we make onboarding easier and what can we do for the Gitcoin passport score. And I know since then, like Jimmy held one space between Gitcoin rounds on like discussing what kind of stamps are good, where for some reason he had to ask for my advice, but yeah, I was happy to provide. And then the last one that he did, really, I feel like I personally got a lot of clear insights from that talk. I'm forgetting his name, but he was here from the passport team. And it also goes to show, you know, that, I mean, yeah, not talking about not getting into the passport, but things that were problematic were discussed, and then like having a couple of sessions on Gitcoin passport does make it a little more smoother for everybody to understand. And it's things like that. Like, I mean, if we can collectively come up with criticisms, we should also be able to come up with problems, solve solutions, and that would be a pretty interesting hour, I feel like, discussing common problems and then seeing how to solve them. Because uh, I would have to say, Let's Grow DAO is also an outcome of something like this. I do feel that all of us feel the lack of like legitimate presence of the refi ecosystem beyond the bubble that we exist in. And in a lot of ways, the idea is that we are able to break that bubble and get into like other people's minds to let them know as to what's happening here, and create like the right kind of noise. I feel like everybody does look to create noise, but like we do have a chance to create the right kind of noise. And I think that's what we're doing. And I think it's probably going to be one of the most important solutions to having like refi becoming mainstream over the long term. Yeah, I see you have a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point in terms of overall questions. I think many times, in an unintended way, that's not at all intended by the speakers or the host. People don't come up to ask questions that they think might be stupid. So just cultivating an environment where actually really everyone, no matter how beginner or how new to something they are, feels comfortable asking those questions. So that could also be another dedicated time slot where it's really like, we want questions, we want any sort of questions from anyone, and try to figure out how they can be answered, because like for one, there can be a lot that can be learned from it, and also obviously the people asking the questions can learn from it. um, and yeah, because it's not always easy to cultivate that environment. And for that, I would also just mention the thought that I don't know if I would want everything to be streamed everywhere across like LinkedIn and Twitch. That's great for certain things and for certain formats, but I don't know if that's a format that would need to be for everything. In my opinion, I think it's good to think about where it makes sense and where it maybe doesn't, because oftentimes people are more comfortable coming up to speak and asking questions, especially if they are new to something. Um, if something, if they see who's listening, who's there, and if they if they don't, if it's like not streamed across 10 different channels, because obviously when it comes to any sort of public exchange and setting, it's always a combination of like community and meeting people, but also a little bit of an aspect of like marketing and being seen in a way, because it is public. And so thinking about which format is like, where's the focus on with which format is important, I think. um, and maybe even for like these questions type of things, sometimes it's also good to not record them. Sometimes then that can be regretted afterwards, right? Like, well, this was so amazing, I would love this to have been recorded. But like, just sometimes people are much more comfortable to come up and only think about coming up if it's not recorded. So yeah, so consideration.
Yeah, a lot of valid points made there by maybe human, and I feel like yeah, we definitely need to take context in terms of being able to understand like how why are we broadcasting for multiple reasons. And yeah, we were also very casually joking about last time around. We did have a bunch of very free flowing conversations. And maybe in retrospect, if you were broadcasting then, those things would probably not have been the best ambassadors of the space. I mean, there's nothing wrong in it. It's just that, like, when people are going to watch it or hear it without any context from before or after, it's possible that they can lead to like wrong set of assumptions. And we would want to avoid that as much as possible. So, yeah, I hear you. I feel like we've all actually also enjoyed a lot of spaces where it's just like, 10, 15, maybe 20 people, and a lot of them know one another. And then there is just, it unlocks like this next level of being vulnerable or being open, and you're a lot more willing to share things over there, and also like be willing to make a fool of yourself on space, which I think is quite powerful in its own way, uh, in terms of the set and setting that is being created. So yeah, should definitely be taking this into context and seeing what's necessary. But I'm quite curious. I feel like Kingfisher had some great ideas, and I do feel that like if everyone is given the chance to like come up with their own hour, we would see a lot of creative utilizations of these time slots over time. And yeah, it's a blank canvas to me right now. And I think everybody is going to put some paint on it and see what kind of painting that leads up to. I mean, what do you think, Guru?
Let's
Is it
grow.
possible to do like a build hour, like 5 days, and get like all everybody else, and do 1 hour each, or is it too much, and like maybe just do like a couple of hours during the week?
Yeah, I was just gonna come up and say,
Yo, you're getting an echo. Mute one of
I
the.
know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah, if you have a speaker going off in the back, it's not going to work. Yeah, hosting is not an issue. We had more hosts than slots this time. The challenge is stewarding, right? To pull off the 24/7 thing, the challenge is stewarding. And so maybe we can find a way to simplify the tech. Maybe some devs will help us build more smooth tech. But yeah, the transition of hosts. Sometimes, obviously, we have Rug and Spaces. Maybe there's been talks before about using an Android emulator on the computer like BlueStacks, which didn't work. It was somehow limited for games this time when we tried that. But yeah, then there's also the video component. I mean, yeah, I like the idea of starting small and doing but a chunk of hours.
Reasonable goal to have is 4 hours a day, and I feel like Max Impact already does 1 hour a day for 6 days a week. So, in some sense, we already have one thing happening. It would end up being about like 6 hours, 6 days, and three other slots being filled. And that also can be laid out blank. I mean, let's see who picks up. Or 2 days, one particular time slot in a week, so that we are also doing it in a way where we know that we are going to be willing to commit to this on a weekly basis, and it's just not something that happens once in 3 months. So the way we go about, like, booking the slot also, and also, seeing what topics we want to discuss would be dependent on like how this whole thing is portrayed. And Kingfisher.
Yeah, and we already broadcast 3 to 4 hours a week, depending on the week and depending on my Web2 schedule. But I mean, one of the things that I've been interested for a long time is, hey, full-time Web3, right? I mean, that's all of our aspirations, I think. So the more we can grow towards that effort, I think that
you think of that, like if you do it for 7 days, that would open up, say, 28 slots for the hosts to take up, and it would start a good cycle
distribution grow, and you are also coming in and getting ready distribution for your content. So that way is like it's a two-way street, and it also will then compel projects that are not that big in the space to come up with a particular media strategy, right? Like right now, we're all doing disparate efforts, and it's definitely leading us somewhere. But it would be nice if we could also like I'm quite fascinated by this idea of decentralized production and decentralized distribution. I think we really are hitting up on something when we can broadcast through everybody's channels, while at the same time anybody can come and pick up a slot, as long as they're aligned with like the larger thesis. Yeah, that's quite fascinating, and it's going to be quite an interesting experiment to run to see how things pan out, because I do feel that as projects would mature, we would all need a very dedicated media strategy also. Like thinking quite like I'm just thinking out loud right now. I can clearly see Solapunk DAO needing one for sure, and I know also for a fact that Region Build would need one. Regions already has like 10 media distribution strategies going on. Kingfisher does this. Carbon counting is always on all spaces doing like giving so much wisdom to everybody, and like that's their bit, and we all are doing things right. Like I feel we all have our initiatives. This can serve as a very interesting platform to like unite everybody and then like spread them out. Go ahead, maybe human.
Yeah, I think it's important when thinking about the different hosts. For me, it would be amazing and a gigantic value add to the overall ecosystem to also coordinate with and use it as a scheduling and coordination tool for existing hosts, or hosts that have been hosting in the past, and also bring them in, like alongside Kingfisher Media and Jimmy with Max Impact and NFTs for Social Good, where I've been involved on Thursdays, and the spaces from Impactopia and the spaces from Greedo with Impact Academy, and the spaces from Atlantis DAO. There also have been others sort of kind of outside of refi, but again, whenever you ask what is refi, some people say it includes like humanitarian things, but then there aren't really humanitarian projects or charity projects that categorize themselves into refi. So there are sort of different definitions, I guess, but in the broader Web3 for Good ecosystem, there are definitely, and have been for a while, people in the media space, and of course just media and research, who I think would be amazing to at least have as hosts sometimes, or find ways to collaborate, because those also tend to be the people with a great overview, who I just think would be amazing to include and bring in. Ash Cooper Kearns would be another person who's hosted quite a few different Real Good Impact spaces within the Real Good Media umbrella. UCC Duck has started to host some spaces in the past around the topic of Web3 for Good. Cardano for Good has been hosting quite a few semi-regular spaces. And then, of course, people who are doing newsletters, like the Web3 for Good newsletter. For me, that would be an immense value add to the ecosystem to use Let's Go as a sort of coordination and scheduling tool, and also a value add to the spaces to bring in those people who have been doing adjacent things in the past.
Wow, I love it. I feel like that's also quite on point. And before we give the hour to Jimmy, maybe human, I have a question for you.
a very good question, and that may be a human thing, and may not be a human thing. No. So, I mean, it is. But the thing is, like, similar to trees and roots of trees, right? There are different types of root systems. Some, depending on the ecosystem, some go very deep to be know about many things, but maybe don't know as much, but know about many things. So yeah. Oh, sorry.
Like to pick up going forward.
into DeFi and DeFi projects from a personal investment perspective, but then also to be able to contribute to the DeFi space by actually being able to create protocols and projects themselves. So that is what we're up to. Ava, you want to just say a few words quickly, and then we're going to intro our guests today. We have an awesome, incredible project, DeFi project on board today, Carbon DeFi. So we'll get them up very soon. But Ava, please intro yourself. On board today, Carbon DeFi. So we'll get them up very soon. But Ava, please intro yourself. Yeah, I'm not sure if we can hear her. Yeah, Ava's a speaker, but that's all good. Let's intro our project, and then Ava can jump in with some questions. So I'd love to intro.
Oh, is there a tech issue?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can hear her. So she's a speaker. Totally. Yeah, Ava's a speaker, but that's all good. Let's intro our project, and then Ava can jump in with some questions. Yeah, so sweet. And I'd love to intro. Jen
I still see the request.
From
can we approve Ava? Maybe
please feel free to
does it say
intro
that she's
yourselves.
already-
Yeah, and super excited to
Might be a bit of a
have
bug.
totally.
Ava, if you can hear us, just try turning it off and on again. Cancel and redo. But yeah, as you will.
Yeah, sweet. And so let's get Jen up and Mark up from Carbon DeFi. Please feel free to intro yourselves, and super excited to have other women in DeFi on here speaking. So please join in.
I'll go ahead and start
Awesome.
us off.
And let's go, Stuart.
Yay.
Sorry, no, you
Hey,
go
Jen.
ahead.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt anybody. I just wanted to say thank you so much for having us up here. Elizabeth, it's nice to connect with you again. My name is Jen Albert. I am a contributor at Bancor and Carbon DeFi. I've been in this space now for about 3-4 years. I've been full-time with Bancor and Carbon for the last just shy of 2 years. And really just excited to be here. I host my own spaces and things as well, and have the same sort of initiatives that you guys have. And it's nice to connect with others, women and just others in general who have a deep appreciation for DeFi, and to kind of dig a little bit and really get involved in the industry.
Love it. I was just gonna say, Stuart, please send the co-host invite to the deep. To deep page. Is this still a crush back there? Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Grow right ahead.
Let's grow. Amazing. Thanks, Jen, for being here. And I see that Ava's just back up again. Ava, are you able to chat?
Hey, I just sent you the co-host invite. Can you just check if you
There we
got it?
go.
Because
Yep, we're good.
yeah, okay.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, so if Ava is able to jump up, just do so at any time. No stress about that. And then, Jen, I would love for you to maybe give an overview of Carbon. So thinking about it from the perspective of maybe I'm pretty new to DeFi. I've like checked out maybe some of the major protocols that have been around for a long time, and I'm looking at like what's out there. I'd love to get a overview of what Carbon is and maybe how it's setting itself apart in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carbon DeFi is the latest product developed by Bancor. And it's quite different from the sort of AMM style DEX that Bancor invented back in 2017. It's a new way of looking at on-chain liquidity and fund management and trading, really. So it offers what is like what we refer to as order book like functionalities, where in an AMM you're making trades, you kind of have this sort of, concentrated liquidity position or whatever it happens to be, where you're trading your tokens. Carbon offers something completely different. It's native on-chain limit orders. So if anybody is just getting into DeFi, they're familiar with centralized exchanges. This is probably very familiar to them, only it's on-chain. But it also offers users the ability to create range orders. So speaking from that sort of centralized exchange to decentralized exchange kind of shift, rather than having to create and kind of ladder these multiple orders to get that sort of range effect on a centralized exchange, on Carbon DeFi, you're able to choose your custom range. So it's your specific price point that you want to buy and or sell a token. So this is really, really unique to Carbon DeFi. This is a result of new bonding curves that we had. Well, I should say Mark had invented that really led to what Carbon DeFi is today. But then we also take it one step farther. So it's not just the limit orders and the range orders. Users have the ability to create something called a recurring order. And this is where they can create a buy order and a sell order. And these two orders are essentially linked together. So they can be limit, they can be range, it can be a combination of the two. But someone can create this automated trading strategy where they can say, I want to buy a token within this specific price range or at this one specific price. And once that order is filled, the liquidity or the funds that they acquire automatically rotates to the linked order. So they can create this sort of automated range trading strategy with the ability to really easily adjust it on chain. It's super gas efficient, really time efficient. So this is really different from anything that you'll find in DeFi at the moment. And it is because of these bonding curves that Mark and Bancor had invented about a year ago now.
Heck yes, amazing. And how long have you guys been live, and how has that process looked in terms of the community and engagement so far?
Carbon DeFi launched on April 20th of this past year. There's been a lot of community support. It's been wonderful. Actually, there was an announcement made not too long ago that the right to deploy these smart contracts that power Carbon DeFi has actually just been licensed to multiple DeFi projects. So the community is really in support of this, seeing these sorts of abilities and these sorts of benefits going into multiple layer twos. And we're launching something else alongside of that called the ARB Fastlane. This is something different, but another product of Bancor's that really kind of goes hand in hand with Carbon DeFi in order to ensure that the orders are filled efficiently. So it's an exciting time for the community for sure.
Heck yes, love to see it. Ava, I'm just calling up on you to see if you're able to speak now and if you have any questions. Amazing.
I mean, I'm passionate about what you guys are doing with Carbon, and I just love to understand a little bit more about this asymmetric liquidity that you guys are introducing. And I think it would be worth explaining a little bit more in detail, maybe the benefit to users in terms of trading efficiency, cost savings, risk management, as compared to other, let's say, symmetric liquidity models.
Sure, I can start us off. And Mark, if you want to add and get a little bit deeper into the technicals, don't hesitate to join in. But essentially, what this means is that when you have the constant product sort of bonding curves or previous bonding curves, you have 2 tokens per curve, right? With the adjustable bonding curves and this asymmetric liquidity, you have 1 token per curve. So your trades are not reversible the way that they are in a traditional AMM or in other DEXs. So this allows, once you secure a sort of profit or a trade is made, when markets move in a certain way, those profits can essentially be lost if a user isn't quick enough to withdraw their liquidity to secure that sort of profit. With Carbon DeFi, because it's just this one irreversible trade, that doesn't happen. So once an order is filled, it's filled. And like I mentioned, the range orders previously, that's for partially filled and fully filled orders.
Yeah, I'm happy to elaborate on that a little bit. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
We can.
I can hear you great.
Wonderful. So yeah, the automatic market maker and liquidity pool primitive, which was introduced in 2017, essentially uses all of the different types of cryptocurrencies that people are adding to the exchange or to the specific liquidity pool that they're participating in as kind of a price reference that it uses to quote a price for each one of the other cryptocurrency tokens. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's say that you're providing both ETH and USDC to a bonding curve. When a trader comes to trade against your liquidity, let's say the trader wants to buy the ETH from you. The liquidity pool will use both the USDC and the ETH balances in order to quote a price. And this price quoting mechanism is typically referred to as constant product. And we don't have to get into the mechanics there, but just be aware that however many cryptocurrencies are in that curve, the liquidity pool will use all of them to quote a price. And the interesting thing about that mechanism is that it means that the liquidity pool can trade in essentially in both directions and in sort of a quasi-reversible way. Meaning that if someone was to approach a liquidity pool that you had just started and then buy, some ETH from you, and then someone was to come after that first person and then sell ETH back into the pool, you more or less end up back where you started, which in a way is a little counterintuitive. Because if you are putting yourself in the perspective of someone who is a cryptocurrency merchant, right, which is not a bad way to consider the specific mindset of someone who's creating a liquidity pool. But maybe a good real world parallel would be something akin to a pawnbroker. Like maybe someone who is offering people money for their, Rolexes or whatever it is that they're hawking off of the street. And then to imagine that, okay, if you are that person who is offering, let's say $10,000 for someone's secondhand Rolex, that the reason that you are offering that price is because you are expecting to be able to turn around and flip that object back to the market at a higher price. So if you're buying a Rolex at 10K, you're hoping to be able to sell it back to the market at 15K and make, like a 50% profit or whatever your profit margin happens to be. And in general, this is kind of the most basic of economic primitives, right? You can buy something at a price that you think is attractive and then sell it back to the market at a higher price. Is sort of the reason why markets function at all. But AMMs don't do that. And in general, AMMs fail to make money as a result. The AMM wasn't really invented with blockchain users in mind, right? With blockchain individuals in mind. The AMM was actually intended to be provisioned entirely by token projects, not by their communities. So the idea of trying to transform a liquidity pool into something that is financially productive is kind of backwards, right? It's really putting taking the concept and sort of turning it upside down. The original, Bancor white paper made it pretty clear that it was mostly about creating token economies around long tail assets and not, creating an investment product, which is kind of how the concept was, was developed after Bancor originally introduced the idea. So what do you do about it then, right? How do you create an exchange that behaves a little bit more like how a merchant might want to buy and sell cryptocurrencies with other people in the market? And the answer is you need a new kind of bonding curve, right? You can't have something that references all of the other token balances in a pool, because this will always have this kind of mean reverting or short gamma behavior. And so the bonding curves that Carbon have, it only references one token balance at a time. So if someone's buying ETH from you, that bonding curve will only reference the balance of ETH when it's quoting a price. So when your ETH balance is diminishing, the quote price will still go up. But it only has to know about its ETH balance in order to quote that price. The USDC balance or USDT balance or whatever is irrelevant for that price calculation. And then the same is true in the opposite direction. When someone is trying to sell ETH to you, right? Or in put it another way, is to buy USDC from you. It only references the USDC balance. And because these two price quotes are independent of each other, it means that we can put them as far apart as we want. And so this means that you can essentially set your own spread. And so to come back to the example with the Rolex, we really do have now a smart contract implementation of the, please buy Rolexes for $10,000 and sell them for $15,000. And the interesting thing about that is that when you're interacting with it as a user, it kind of much more closely resembles something like eBay than it does a traditional exchange, which I think is a lot more intuitive for people to engage with regular users. So it doesn't really demand that you have the kind of market making skills or trading prowess to use, but only that you have an idea of which prices you would like to trade your assets at. So it's a pretty significant step forward in terms of blockchain and exchange primitives.
It is, and it is very exciting to have this deep dive into this really innovative approach. I guess my next question, and it comes a little bit on top of my mind, as using asymmetric liquidity model introduce some level of complexity. How do you address this for your users in terms of features or anything else in the perspective of risk management?
I can in terms of risk management, I mean, it's always nice to remind everybody here that, we're in DeFi, whether it's centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, like, especially with DeFi, there's the smart contract risk. Centralized exchanges, there's the risk that you don't have control of your own assets, right? But in terms of Carbon, DeFi specifically, we don't rely on, well, Carbon doesn't rely on any, like third parties. So there are no oracles, there are no keepers. Like Mark had mentioned, it's very much, more similar to eBay. A user is offering their tokens, a taker comes and says, I like this trade or I don't, right? So it's not like there is no specific price on Carbon. The users determine the price. So there's a lot of security and risk that's really eliminated by not relying on other third parties. This is all native to the protocol. In terms of complexity, anytime you're speaking about bonding curves and things of this sort, it always sounds more complex than it actually is. But I encourage everybody to, if you go to carbondefi.xyz, or if you go to app.carbondefi.xyz, you can see how simple this interface is and how simple it is to create a strategy. It's asking you what tokens you'd like to trade, what price you'd like to trade them at, and how much, what you would like to fund your orders with. And that
increases demand through these automated systems, and how that we can gear these systems to fund public goods. And with small movements today, we can fund large movements of the future generations.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in here. And I don't disagree with you. Having these sorts of tools, like we always talk about the sorts of tools, the analytics, these sorts of things are so important when you're making certain decisions. And kind of, I think so many developers and project leaders have created such amazing tools for us. It's really just a matter of kind of like what Mark was saying earlier. When you look at why the AMM was created, it was really created for this specific purpose, right? So if we can, as the space evolves, if we can evolve with it and recognize that this may not very well be suited for this, and here's a different option, like that's a beautiful way for all of us to continue growing in the space. And I would love to continue the conversation with you. But yeah, big fan of the tools and growing in this space and this industry in general, and seeing more and more come in like on chain.
Yeah, I think it really gets to the heart of like what DeFi is all about, because it's really about empowering the end users. I think all of Web3 is really about empowering the end users with their own ownership of their identities, their data, their finances, right? It's all about how can we as individuals have better ownership and control over ourselves and our online identities. And I think it's like a really nice pairing to be in this space with ReFi because DeFi is just the tooling to be able to enable like better use of money for things that are important, right, in the world. And so I think it's nice to sort of like have this cross collaboration right now in this space to talk about these things. Also, Jen, I'd really love to just like get your 2 cents on your experience in the DeFi world. Just since this is what we're about as the Deep is sort of like enabling more women who are in DeFi to share their experiences and what got them into it and what their journeys have been so far. I'd love for you to touch on that briefly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I really got into the industry or like into the space. I got interested in DeFi during like right before DeFi summer around COVID. I'm a full-time single mom, and so I am, you know, I realized that there was something else aside from work hard, hope to retire one day, save all your money, and DeFi was kind of that thing for me. And so once I learned about it, I really started digging. I mean, we all talk about this rabbit hole of crypto, right? Like it's no joke. I was deep into this. Um, and I started joining different Twitter spaces and just really asking questions. I'm not shy about admitting that I don't know something. And I'm not shy about asking the sorts of questions that I really want to know the answers to. And I started with that. And then I became a volunteer for Chainlink. I was a Chainlink community advocate. And with that, I was also very much a member of the Bancor DAO and the Bancor community. And Mark was one of the first people that I had reached out to interview as a Chainlink advocate. And that was kind of really how I got started working in the industry, was hosting these sorts of calls. And it was kind of like what Mark had said, they're not based on Bancor. This is really just helping DeFi survive, right? Kind of bridging that gap between new users and inexperienced users and those who are more experienced. And there's a clear divide between the two. So the more we can really kind of focus on bringing those closer together and bridging that gap, the better. Like I said, it's been 2 years now. So I went from hosting our Twitter spaces and things to working really closely with the community in the DAO and doing some of the brand building and the messaging and things of that sort. So it's really kind of expanded. And I love it. I really do. It being on the other side, I would say, not just as a user, but behind the scenes with an actual, a DeFi protocol. And, you know, it gives you a whole new appreciation for how hard they work. And it brings you back to your roots of like, we're here to really make a difference, right? Like, offer something good to people who are looking for alternatives or who don't have these sorts of things within their reach. And I think that's kind of my main takeaway, right? It gives you a whole new appreciation. It kind of brings you back to why you might have gotten into this in the first place. I mean, for me anyway. I wasn't looking
Yes.
for moonshots when I joined the space. So I can speak for myself when I say that.
Heck yes, I love it. Honestly, Jen, thank you for sharing. It's an inspiration. It's like one of the things I love about like Web3 and crypto, it's just such a great equalizer in that it doesn't really matter like where you come from geographically, what your background is before getting into it, how technical you are versus how non-technical you are. Like anyone can learn. The tools, the resources are out there, and it's amazing how far you can go like within a short period of time if you're passionate and you're like driven and wanting to learn and wanting to contribute and give back to the space. So like super cool. Kudos to you on that, and being an inspiration for a lot of other people. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this space today and sharing what Carbon's about. Obviously, please like share links to where people can find out some more information. And yeah, it was great to be able to like give a little bit of a taster on what the Deep is about, what we're trying to do, and why we're a part of this Gitcoin Grants round. This is our third time being in the Gitcoin Grants round. We're a part of the Web3 education community.
side of the grants round, as well as the SheFi round as well. Because what SheFi is doing is fabulous in terms of onboarding a lot of women into the space, and the Deep really wants to be able to take the next step in people's learnings to get more advanced level understanding of DeFi. So super cool to be here. Ava, thank you as well for joining. Jen, thank you for joining. Mark, thank you for joining from Carbon DeFi. And Jimmy, take it away.
Okay, cool. So everyone who wants to be a part of the video, by the way, is very welcome to do so. You can simply head over to bit.ly/Let's Grow Video. So Decentralized CEO, if you could please join me in the video, just bring up your laptop, bit.ly/Let's Grow Video. And for anyone who's watching on video, you can also join us on the audio if you like, if you want to speak here as well. You just go to bit.ly/Let's Grow Audio. Okay, so here we grow. Let me just do a quick little screen share here. Bada bing, bada boom. How you doing, Decentralized CEO? What's going on, Izzy?
I'm right here with you. I'm just getting situated to get on this Let's Grow live video right there with you. But yeah, lead the way, man. I'm following your lead, bro.
Awesome. Okay, well, before we get into that, let me just play a quick little intro here.
You there?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I muted myself again. Yes. So before we get into that, let me just play a quick little intro. Let's grow, let's grow. So I'm going to okay. Give us one sec. You know what? Actually, maybe while I pull that up, we could just play a quick little song. Hold on, I got a few songs in mind, but do you have a tune request that you'd like to hear that we could put on the stream before as we kick off this little interview here? Izzy, do you happen to be a fan of Burna Boy?
What was that?
I said any tune requests. I'll play some Burna Boy if you'd like. But was there anything you'd like to hear before we kick off, music-wise?
Burna Boy is fine, but if you know Petro,
you're gonna have to mute the volume coming off the computer as you join on there to avoid the feedback. Thank you for your patience, everybody. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay. And boom. Burna says, good. You said anyone in particular?
Petro King. Burna Boy is fine too.
Oh, Petro. Did you say King?
Yeah. I'm in love or higher. Actually, let's do higher. That way you can pray.
You got to turn the volume off your computer there, brother. So just turn the volume off there so you don't get any feedback coming through. And Noah Hala, here we go. I'll bring it on. Boom. Let's grow, guys. If you've been listening for a while, stand up. Stand up, everybody. Stretch your legs a little bit. Energy flowing. With a vibe. Emoji dances, tap an emoji. Till I got they hold me down. Oluwa hold me down. Down, down, down. Hey, enemies go. Give me chance for my disco. I saw the thing go. From zero to hero.
my life is looking so marvelous. Shebi then call me
All
anonymous.
right.
This kind of blessing not
Without
only
further
us.
ado.
Once upon a time, there were beings who wanted to create something. These beings carefully guarded an aspect of consciousness called light. At different times, these guardians of light met and worked together in the different realms of reality. And they designed a time when their plan would go into effect. These beings are you, and that time is now. And each of you knows, in the deepest portions of your being, that you have come here for a purpose. You are beginning to feel what may be coming.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Max Impact Show. This is the live Spaces show that's all about empowering you, the change maker, to maximize your positive impact in the world by leveraging the latest and greatest technology. With me today is none other than Izzy. So Izzy is the Greenfield Nigeria chapter steward, the founder of Impact Summit, and the CEO of Decentralized Exchange LTD. Each organization is involved with or allocates the resources to help the living conditions in the region, and he's making an impact. So Izzy, we have a tradition here on the show, and our tradition is to always start with why. So when I ask you what's your why, Izzy, I'm talking about your personal why, your inner drivers, your motivators, what gets you specifically out of bed in the morning and fuels you to do all the amazing things that you do. If you were to encapsulate it into one description for the people here today, how would you describe the why of Izzy?
Hope. That's the one word I can describe the why.
Hope.
Yes. Because at the end of the day, I know that hope gives motivation. And with hope and faith, regardless of the situation that you're in, you can still keep moving forward and be resilient and still become a better outcome. So hope, because at the end of the day, I know that hope gives motivation. And with hope and faith, regardless of the situation that you're in, you can still keep moving forward and be resilient and still pushing for a better outcome. So hope gives me that motivation. That's kind of how I can summarize that real quick. Just to be able to bring hope and smiles to people's faces, at least the community that I'm
Like to give hope when there's not too much
dear
of it.
to my heart
Respect,
where I was
man,
born.
respect. And so, what's your story, man? Like, how did you see you've been going back and forth between the states?
So like I
How
like
did
to
you get
give hope
involved in
because there's not
Web3?
too
How did
much of
you
it.
get green pilled? I'd love to hear this story.
Like
And
to give hope
ultimately,
when
how
there's
did you
not
end
too
up
much of it.
as
Respect,
the
man, respect.
CEO
And
of
so,
your
what's your story,
exchange
man? Like, how did you
in
said you've been
Spain?
going back and forth between the
Well,
states?
thanks for
How did you get
asking.
involved in
I guess
Web3? How did
before
you get green
it was
pilled? I'd love to hear this story. And ultimately, how did you?
it was it's a company that we started back in 2020. Me, a couple cousins of mine,
And as the CEO of
uncle that was actually on the ground. I guess before Green Pill, it was decentralized exchange. It was essentially and it was it's a company that we started back in 2020. Like me, a cousin of mine is located in the UK, and then also one that has a situation where that's on the ground to help file the paperwork and everything. But it was essentially supposed to be like a POS of a thing where it's like proof of payment transaction where like if due to
So
like
wanted to give that opportunity to like
Web3,
whereas we have the
crypto,
crypto,
whether
whether
it's
it's
BTC, UTC, whatever the
whatever
case
the
may
case may
be,
be,
individuals that
individuals that
don't really
don't
have
really
the
have the
access to
access
like
to like
go through
Binance
Binance or any that do not want to
not
go
want
through
to go to
Binance or
finance
any
or
like
any like
online
online
exchange,
exchange,
they
they
can
can
physically come
physically
to a
come to a
kiosk
kiosk
and
and
send
transfer
their
their
crypto lack of
crypto
trust that's in the area
that's right on ground.
But then
But then
because of
because of
the
the
regulation that
regulation
came
that
out like
came
late
out like in
2020,
2020,
we
we
paused on
paused
there.
on there.
And then
And
started
then started
shifting
shifting to
acquire some
exchange. They
people
can
around the
physically come to a
in
kiosk
Nigeria
and
to be able
send
to do something
transfer
to help
their
do it.
crypto to
And
be able to get the
we
fiat.
wanted that was
That was
the
the
initial
initial
idea, but
idea,
then
and
it
then
was
it
just
was just
waiting for the
waiting for the
regulations to
regulations to
switch, and
switch,
when
and
it
when it
did,
did,
it was
it
the
was the
right
right
timing.
timing.
And
And
then
then
fast
fast
forward,
forwarding,
I
I
went to
went to
Consensus
Consensus
2023.
2023.
You can hear me
You can hear me quite well, right?
I can hear
I can
you
hear you
very
very
well.
well.
It is
It
a
is a
little
little
bit
bit
dark
dark
in
in
your
your
room,
room,
but I
but I
don't
don't
know if you
know
can
if
see
you
the
can
blinds,
see
so
the
it's
blinds,
quite
so it's
quite no
no
pressure,
pressure,
but
but
hey, oh,
hey,
there
oh,
we
there we
go.
go.
Let the
Let the
sun
sun
shine.
It's actually raining outside where I'm at, so that's probably the issue. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Okay, yeah, no
problem.
problem, no problem.
Go right
Go right
ahead.
ahead.
So
So
basically,
basically,
I went
I
to
went to
Consensus
Consensus
2023,
2023,
and
and
there was an event, a side event that was pretty intimate. Like a couple of people that met up in like a local coffee shop around there. Awoki was there, and a whole lot of other Greenfield chapter leads that was there too, like Greenfield, New York, with Jay and Mikhail. And what I found there was basically how it started off. It was like a circle meetup where individuals there initially wanted would basically introduce what they were doing, introduce themselves, and talk about what they were doing. And while individuals were doing that, it just struck me because there was so many people that was involved in that initiative that was just like, wow, these people are doing amazing things, trying to help out where they can. And that's literally where I wanted to be at. Like, and that's literally that point. It was like April 28th. I think it was early this year that I was Greenfield, and I wanted to be part of this movement that was growing because essentially that's really what I've been wanting to do in any direction that I could have done. I could have used to do it, and I found out that this was an actual platform for me to be able to accomplish some of these goals that we set out for ourselves and specifically for myself too. But even before Greenfield, I didn't even know about Bitcoin or like funding mechanism or anything like of that nature. But it was when I fell into that rabbit hole, it's like what's even regen or DeFi? What I knew about DeFi, what I knew about the whole time was just DeFi. So when I started like researching a little bit more, learning more about how it worked, I just fell deeper and deeper into it and wanted to make sure I was a part of it. So that's pretty much how I got to Greenfield. And it is kind of dark. That's pretty much
Okay,
how I
no
got
worries,
Greenfield.
bro. No worries.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, okay, so
yeah,
the color's shining through you with your voice. So
yeah,
so
you
you
got
got
Greenfield by
Milwaukee,
Milwaukee, you saw him in Consensus,
and you said you were getting into properties to make an impact. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, basically, a lot of things like there was a time frame where the bull market of early 2020, like end of 19 and early 2020, I got into Ethereum pretty early, and I've been dealing with crypto for a while. I don't know why. Even back when it was DC, when it was like 700, but I never really held on to what I was expecting because I didn't know exactly how it would last. But that 2020 bull market really like blessed me specifically that I just trying to look for different things to do with that with the profits. And one of the things I found out that can't go wrong in acquiring properties, especially in Nigeria. There's a lot of property and land that's for sale. Very affordable price. And what I wanted to do is to use those properties to do some cultural things that can yield income. Because Nigeria was one of the leading producing countries. But we focus all our resources to the oil market, basically, like getting income from the oil industry. Where I believe that that's the back of the day, we're one of the countries that would produce cocoa, and agriculture was one of our main sectors that we would get income from. And I wanted to just even start small from anything that I could have done to actually push it towards that direction, because I knew it's not going to be overnight. But I know what's going on, especially with renewable energy, and the oil market is actually going a different direction. And I know that eventually agriculture would be coming back around to people to go. Agriculture would be one of the main things that get income in that country. So I kind of want to position ourselves where we help local farmers that may not have resources to actually get these properties or land, to give them the resources to be able to plant palm trees, coconut trees, and just things of that nature, right? But then I had no idea about tree plants. I swear to God, I had no idea about like Coconut Network. That's all. Whenever I'm in this space, I hear what Coconut Network was doing, and I'm like asking a lot of questions and trying to figure out more about it because it really aligns to the goals that that was put out that had made that. And the universe has a way universe has a way for it to just like kind of like bring the right people around you to go towards the goals that you're looking towards. So the reason we get those properties is essentially that just to give farmers and just to give opportunities to those that can't get it. But eventually, we really didn't know how we were going to do that. So we just held on to them and was looking for opportunities to actually utilize the property that we had. So that's pretty much where we're at with that one. And I'm pretty sure like I'm seeing where we can allocate some of this stuff. Yeah. Man.
So we got agroforestry up here.
I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Yeah, still muted. So yeah, we got agroforestry up here. So you were talking about how agriculture is going to be a big point of focus there. You're talking about empowering people. You're talking about greenpilling people. What are the plans there in terms of the specifics of agriculture? Now that you are aware of not just tree gens, but Coconut Network, and how some of these things can be structured, Agroforest DAO, to empower people to make a positive impact towards climate change. What's the plan then?
Are you asking me or agriculture, or me or Agroforest?
I'm asking you more about the plans there, and I'd love it if Agroforest DAO could chime in as well afterwards. But
right,
yeah, no, I'd love to learn a bit more about your vision around some of the stuff that you're doing, how that ties into Greenpill, etc.
Honestly, okay, like there's about I don't want to like you put me on the spot a little bit, but it's about an acre of property. It's a lake. It's just farmland, and honestly, like I wanted to see how we can tie that into like the Coconut Network, where we can actually grow coconut there and not really palm trees, but you know, on that side, the west side of the lake. But then, like as much trees that we can plant there, really to go because it's just really there to be used for anything and to empower communities, the local community would actually get local farmers to come help us with this, and that would be an opportunity for them to get some kind of like to create jobs and get some kind of income for them that's doing this, right? And then we'll switch into like the east side, right, where you can have palm trees and coconut trees. We wanted to plant those two there, and on top of that, build some kind of local school. Because where the middle section of the east, or whereas the middle section of the east, like basically it's dead center. One of the build a school where it's called Institute of Technology. This is big alpha right now. I don't really share it publicly like this. It's a couple of people that know, like Carla God, she knows about it because actually we're going to see how we can partner with her with some of the stuff that she's doing and give and let her utilize the location, a central location for some of the stuff that she's doing. Instead of going to different schools and trying to make hubs, we can make a straight hub where some of her camp members would be able to come to school there for basically for free. So the whole thing about it is that in that location, while we're farming and actually utilizing solar panels for agricultural purposes, even the technical part of setting those panels up, the technical part of actually the farming process, we would be teaching individuals how to do that. So like while they're working, they're actually learning and looking for far, they would get. I'm hearing something. Is that okay? From far, they would get certificates, like on-chain certificates for upon a completion of their curriculum, right? And yeah, that's like the major kind of plan that we have set in stone for those properties there. But then there's some other stuff that's work that Decentralized Exchange is doing too, the initiative like the TAS, like Tech and Sun, where we're trying to figure out how to have charge ports in different locations so people could be able to charge their phones, their battery pack, and do it on a very, very affordable rate, like 100 Naira just to charge a full charge. And that's like compared to dollars, that's like 10 cents. And we're able to kind of do that at that affordable rate. So by deploying the fiat to crypto crypto mechanism, deploying it on PGN, where we get the CSR fees to be able to put back in the projects, and hopefully, if the multitude of individuals, it's a lot of individuals using it, it's going to be a lot of transactions, so we can even put those stuff back to QF rounds, going back to the Impact Summit, where we'll do the QF rounds for different projects to showing these type of initiatives. So it's like a whole full circle of what we're trying to do, that we're going to tie everything together, but it starts off with one small step. Man, you have me talking forever, man. I appreciate the
I
opportunity,
love it.
Jimmy, man.
I love to hear about it, man. This is what
Very
I'm
good.
bullish on, dude. No, it's super cool to hear. Sorry, my video is a little glitchy. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Agroforest DAO.
Very cool, Izzy. It seems so interesting. You can never tell, like, what are the person's plans, right? So,
Sorry, there's like an audio like bzz, like in the background. I don't know if you're able to change device.
maybe it's better now.
Yep. Yeah, nailed it.
Okay. So we met at Green Pill Network, and yeah, it's amazing to see how much of your journey. It's been so fast. Like, it seems like in this coordination rationale, and it's really nice to see ventures that are rooted. So there's a lot of value there, and there's probably a lot of seeds being stewarded, a lot of knowledge and gastronomic and foods culture, processing, storing, caring, and seasonalities, maybe some celebrations, and yeah, we can share agendas, share common agendas, share the local agendas, maybe have a global also agenda, maybe some gatherings online or IRL, and yeah, it's the rooted projects, those that are building roots, and because the design plan for the plantations, for the cultivations. In our case, there are agroforestry lines with bananas and others, and papayas and seeds, many seeds, and interlines with crops like cassava or corn, rice, beans, peanuts, and grass, also seeds of grass that's supposed to feed the soil. After we take out all this food, we cut the grass and cover the soil, and we can certify, recognize, and offer some community review and we are trying to find partners to be able to offer some incentives, some rewards. It's easy to think of financial rewards, some token like Earth token or any other, but we could also think of assets like thing, get this good Earth. It's not so good, but if we want to get a better one, and maybe we can think of retirement in the future, focusing a lot on the many values of not only normal markets.
Good, brother. I just wanted to also bring you that although there may not be coconut trees, Izzy, there are mangoes, correct? Hey,
That's correct.
so let's grow.
That's part of, like, honestly, straightforward in myself. It's just that works. Like, properly planting mangroves, and then like help educate individuals as on ground to be able to do it and be able to just do it correctly, because it takes teamwork. All the stuff I'm saying are like, they say Greenpeace is about dreamers, hackers, and doers. I think I said that before. It's been dreamt on. It's been dreamt, right? We dreamed about it, but then now it's like it's a whole community, like correctly, because it takes teamwork. All the stuff I'm saying to help are like, they say Greenpeace is about dreamers, hackers, and doers. I think I said that. Trying to do it all alone, it's been dreamt on. It's been dreamt, right? We dreamed about it, but then now it's like, so there's no point in reinventing the wheel. So community, like what we have here, to help make this, like some of this stuff, like materialize some of these things that we're trying to do. If we're trying to do it all alone, it's going to take way too long, and it's going to be a lot of mess up that comes like in the process. So there's no point in reinventing the wheel. So if individuals that specialize in certain areas, we are very, very open to get assistance and help and get some. I mean, basically, we cannot do it together. That's what I'm saying. So for sure.
100%. Yo, it's all about doing this together, fam. That's why it's Let's Grow DAO, right? Let's grow together. Let's freaking grow. I mean, yes. I mean, we're creating mangrove methodologies, and we're opening up collaborations with Impact Market to do learn to earn. So people should be able to learn about how to plant mangroves and then actually earn cryptocurrency when they do that. And then at that point, also learn how to do very simple MRV with any simple smartphone camera. Pretty much, all the cameras nowadays are able to film the mangroves with a decent enough resolution for our AI tree counter to count them, right? And our DAO TGN is going to be staking their TGN from January 15, hopefully, and verifying those things, verifying the AI tree counting data, verifying the landmark data, the GPS data, these different things in order to issue a mangrove token. And we plan to make that token liquid with pretty sizable liquidity pools. We're speaking to a lot of market makers right now, so that people could get paid for that. Or if they could hold them, we also do plan to retroactively reward people, because we're going to be also building on optimism and do retroactive PGF and Gitcoin, and also carbon forward. I mean, the carbon area, and I'm also looking at the full scope of EBF now, ecological benefits framework, and how we could potentially use that to monetize and reward and ultimately plant a lot more trees. But yeah, mangroves are typically on government land, right? So that's where I'd actually need some of your guidance to, like, how do we approach the government in Nigeria? Because yeah, it can definitely be a challenge to do. First of all, it's permissions to plant, and then it's permissions to ultimately get carbon credits from the land, which they have to sign off on. So there's going to be some form of collaboration there, and also for conservation, usually with like community-based organizations, etc. But yeah, I need to do some research. I mean, there's a lot of great tree planting initiatives that we could kick off in Nigeria. I mean, there's more mangrove trees than any other African country. So let's freaking grow, is what I say.
Let's freaking grow. Look, about that though, like the good thing about Nigeria is that, like, even though there's a federal aspect, like a lot of local municipalities can actually make decisions that kind of decisions on their own. So like that might be a good way to kind of like initiate that or start it off on a local aspect first, and then like do it in different different locations, using a local. Different locations, using a local.
Say that if you want some agroforestry or permaculture books, just shoot me an email. I got
It is IGLI Igly.
Yes, indeed. Oh, it's actually Coconut turn. Coconut Network
Yeah, but
is up to host, but you're of course all welcome to shimmer
can
on
I
up,
say something real quick?
sir. But of course.
Because I was just mixing some orange pills with some green pills and talking to some people in the Bitcoin world about how carbon offsets could be used, like asking if there was any resources that they had on that. But they did actually provide a pretty cool resource. I'll put it up at the top. It's called Carbon Crowd. And it's actually, it's like, I think it's more focused on cross chain. So it's not really just focused on like one ecosystem or the other. I think they're kind of trying to create more interoperability with being able to record carbon credits on chain. So I just wanted to share that. I was in a room previous to this and was talking to some Bitcoin maxis and was like, how do we get these eco projects onto BTC if you have funding for them? You know, is there anything available? So that's what I found out.
Does Bitcoin have funding?
They're starting to do funding through, like, there's Stacks, of course, the layer 2 chain for Bitcoin. They have like a grants program. You'll see, I think it's Hero Gamer that comes through here listening with like a little 8-bit monkey PFP. He I think is involved with that. And then the Bitcoin Startup Lab, they have a cohort that's starting up soon. That's kind of like something that we've been looking into. So
nice. And they would fund if you're multi-chain. I feel like being multi-chain is the meta, you know, because there are different blockchains that are open to funding you if you are multi-chain, and then you could potentially tap into multiple funding sources to really grow, and then green pill more people. But let's pass things over to Coconut Network, who is taking this hour. It says you're only allowed 2 co-hosts. I only see 1 though. I don't know if this is another bug or if I need to disinvite.
No, you have to. Hey, GM, you have to
What's up, brother?
cancel the